Hi everybody, this is Dan from DanRH Drum Channel, and I thought I would do a rig rundown for what I use when I play a gig. So I'm going to use my Yamaha Absolute Hybrid Maple kit, and I'll give you a complete rundown as far as what I use, what accessories I use, what emergency contingency items that I have at my disposal if, say, I break a bass drum head. There is a video on that, by the way. And I hope you get some enjoyment out of this. I love looking at gear videos, so this is my input through my drum channel as far as what gear I use. Here we go. Here's a rig rundown. Keep in mind that I have a lot of drum sets, so the hardware and all the accessories that you'll see are always the same. It's just the drums that change depending on what I've pulled off the rack to play on a particular night. What happens is that I usually use a 2-up, 1-down situation when I'm playing with my R&B and funk band, also classic rock. I'll use different size rack toms for, say, like doing Van Halen or Def Leppard stuff. I'll use a 12 and a 13 on top. In this case, I have a 10 and a 12. In my Tom Petty tribute band that I play with, the Big Jangle, I'll always use a either 1-up and 1-down situation, or 1-up, 2-down, meaning 1 rack tom and 1 floor tom, or 1 rack tom and 2 floor toms. Here we go. So this is my Yamaha Absolute Hybrid Maple kit in polar white. The finish is incredible. It's a translucent finish that looks great under stage lighting. My drum sizes are, my bass drum is a 22 by 14. My rack tom, first rack tom that I'm using today, is a 10 by 7. Second rack tom is a 12 by 8. And my floor tom is a 16 by 15. I also have a 14 by 13 if I want to use 2 floor toms on the bottom, but usually for my R&B gig I only use 1 floor tom. I also have a matching snare drum. It's in this case, I don't always have matching snare drums, but for the Absolute Hybrid Maple I did. This is a 14 by 6. It's a great sounding snare drum. I love the Yamaha aluminum hoops, die-cast hoops. They're just really nice. Light, yet really beefy with a lot of crack. Okay, coming around. Now you'll notice I have a snare on the side. This is a 14 by 6.5 Ludwig Black Beauty. It is a B stock, meaning there is some sort of blemish on it. I have not been able to find any kind of reason why it would be considered a B stock, but there it is. Coming around, I'll get to the Porter and Davies in a second. Before I get to the drum heads, my stick bag. I love this thing. Unfortunately, you cannot get it anymore. This is a DW Peter Erskine standalone stick bag. It stands alone, as you can see. I have my various sticks. I use 5As and 5B, Vic Verse, and brushes and assorted rods and things like that. But as you can see, it's a standalone. It comes with a stand, but the stand I don't care for. I keep getting this thing repaired. I have to take it to a shoe repair shop, and they're the ones that have the real powerful stitching machines, sewing machines, I guess, to be able to fix this thing. I fixed it 3 times already. Every time I fix it, it's about $100, but it's worth it to me. I don't like putting the stick bags on my floor tom because, in my opinion, and there's a lot of different opinions on this, stick bags, to me, they dampen the resonance of the floor tom. So that's why I have a standalone, and I love this thing. I wish I could buy more, but I can't find them anywhere. Peter Erskine is now with Tama, is not with DW anymore. That's how old this stick bag is. So going back to my drums, I'm using the OEM heads, the heads that came with the kit. You'll notice since it's twin ply, there's obviously some kind of moisture within the two. I've used Remo Clear Emperors on my toms for years as my go-to head. I just prefer the twin plies. Some people don't. My snare drum's got a, again, OEM head batter, which is a coated ambassador. My cymbals, I'm using, for the most part, Heisty Modern Essentials. And these are 15s. They're not Sound Edge. I love Sound Edge, but I don't think they offer Modern Essentials with the Sound Edge. I'll have to check that out, but these are great. I love them. So over here for my R&B and funk classic rock situations that I play in, or country, 17-inch on the left side. It's just a 17-inch crash. Over here is an 18-inch crash. And then I don't want to call it the black sheep of the family, but it's the Sabian hand-hammered raw bell ride, 21-inch. I love this ride cymbal. It gives me a lot of ping. Being an old guy, I used to use ping rides from the Zildjian days, and I just love it. There's not too much wash. I do use a 20-inch Modern Essential ride cymbal that has a lot of wash, and I use that with my Petidan. But for, you know, R&B and funk situations, I want a lot of ping. I always use I don't use China cymbals anymore. Not a big fan of China cymbals just because they're, I don't know, in my opinion, they're kind of uncontrollable, but I like these effect cymbals because it's definitely a different voice in my cymbal makeup, and it stands out, and they're not too obnoxious. If you're up close, I guess they can be obnoxious, but of course, effect cymbals as opposed to. So, yeah, that's the cymbal situation. For my Tom Petty band that I'm in, I will use an 18-inch over here, and I'll use a 20-inch Modern Essential over here. All right, pedals. I've just recently converted from Tama Speed Cobras, which I love. I just love those pedals, but I've always been fascinated by the Yamaha FP9s, which is what that is. Beautifully designed pedal. This is the double kick. I'm not a great double kick player, but I use them for tag lines and just certain effects. I'm not a dugga guy, if you know what I mean. The interesting thing about these pedals are really adjustable. I like the fact that to clamp down the pedal, you've got this. You don't have to get on your hands and knees. You can basically bend over and tighten it. Also, the adjustments for the springs are right on top, so again, you can bend over instead of having to get off and adjust the springs. Once I usually set a spring, it's done. It's incredibly smooth, and it just gives me a lot of power, gives me everything I need. You can put a insert on these. You'll see that I'm pulling that out. Either aluminum or brass for a little bit more weight. I don't need them. Here's my left side pedal. I've recently gotten this, I think it's called HS9. Is that what it is? The hi-hat, the Yamaha, new Yamaha hi-hat stand. It's just a tank, and it's got so many different ways to configure it and adjust it. It's awesome. Over here for my electronics, I'm getting my microphone out of the way. The only reason I set up my microphone is I do sing when I play with the band, so it's an essential part of my setup. As you'll see, it's not plugged in, but I did want to include it in my setup. So my electronics are my Alesis Strike MultiPad. It's got 9 pads, and I use it for effects. You'll see it says Big Jangle. You can totally adjust it. What I use it for, and I'll play a short demo at the end, is, for example, you can see American Girl. It's got hand claps. I use hand claps, and I also use samples that I put in. The nice thing about the Alesis is that you can put samples in for as long as the sample runs, for 6-10 minutes, whatever, as long as you have enough of the internal memory available. It's 32 gigabyte. The 5,000 sounds that are on the pad, I usually use sampled sounds, to be honestly. I've got the Van Halen Panama, Eddie Van Halen Lamborghini. I'll play that on my thing here. I've got that on here because I play Panama. I've also got the middle section of Whole Lot of Love, where there's a lot of theremin effects that Jimmy Page was using. I've got that programmed in this too as well. Down to my little table. Now this is another item that is, if I don't have a table on the left side to put my stuff, then I feel incomplete. So this is a Gibraltar table that I just basically clamp to my wonderful Gator Frameworks stand. I used to have a stand with weights, with like 10-pound weights on them. And honestly, I think that contributed to me getting a hernia. I'm serious. I'm getting a double hernia surgery in 3 weeks. That's why I'm rushing to get these videos out. Anyway, that's a side note. InEars. I'm a big believer in InEars, which is why I use the Porter and Davies. I'll get to that in a second. So I use Drumeo. They're $99 2-driver in-ear buds, and it goes into my Behringer P1. I'm wired, I'm not wireless. So my whole rig for in-ears costs less than $200, and I do have a video on that. Click on the link of the video for getting a in-ear rig for less than $200. Now you could spend thousands of dollars if you want to. You could spend $1,000 easily for a pair of in-ears that are molded. I just like to use these. You know, there's three sets of tips that you can use for these, or 2 sets, I forget what it is. And they fit me fine. Dampening. I just recently started using these Menile Drum Honey dampening gel pads. As you can see, I've got them on the drums, and basically it rounds out the sound depending on what you're going to do. This head, since it's got this moisture in it, is already kind of dampened, so you don't really need it. Here's the 12, and here's the 16. If I wanted to deaden this even more, which I don't want to do because, you know, I want a nice, I want a big floor tom. And then the snare drum, I'm going to take this off. I'm sure you know this, but I'm just going to do it. For all that ring, well, to me, this gets the ring out. Some guys go for the ring. Bill Bruford did. So many other people. Alex Van Halen. Anyway, okay. Moving on. Since I told you about my in-ears, my Tama Metronome. I use a metronome for count-offs. Sometimes I don't remember. I don't want to start songs too fast. There's one song I always want to start it faster. It's called Stop Dragging My Heart Around by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I want to keep it at 104. I will play to a click. Only I am getting a click through my in-ear monitors. Now, normally, I would have 2 ins coming here. This is from the Metronome, and this one will be from front of house. It really doesn't matter. I do use DC. I don't use battery power. Batteries are just too much of a pain in the butt. And my in-ears, even though they're not plugged in to this, they go into this. I have my in-ears actually going into my EAD. I'll get to that in a second. Drum keys, whatever goes on this. I love this. Okay, Porter and Davies. It's called a tactile monitor. That's what it's called. Basically, it's like the old butt kickers, if you ever heard of the butt kickers. These are really top of the line stuff. I could certainly have gotten a really nice Rogers used vintage kit for the price that I paid for these 2 pieces. That's one piece, and the top is the second piece. Now, the bottom is a rockin' sock, as you can see, rockin' sock. And I had to basically do a little drilling to get Porter and Davies plate. See the green plate up there? That's Porter and Davies. And the bottom, the black with the handle, is the rockin' sock. And they give you, Porter and Davies gives you instructions on how to do this. This unit goes into here. People ask, what sound does it make? Well, it doesn't make any sound. Basically, it's sending you usually your bass drum feed into your seat. So you're feeling your bass drum. I'm sure you guys have heard of this. If you haven't, getting a little education now. Now, the reason why I didn't put my bass drum mic in my bass drum yet, because I wanted to show you. So this is a Shure Beta 91A. It's a boundary mic. I love this mic. This mic, to me, it's the best bass drum mic out there, and I'm sure, of course, everybody has their own opinions, as do I, but talking to sound guys, they love the 91A. They really do. Most of them do. I've had Audix D6s. I've had Shure Beta 52. I've had the AKG D112. Just cast of thousands when it comes to bass drum mics, and this one, to me, takes the cake. I like ported bass drums. I'm not a closed, non-ported drum head guy. I port all my bass drums. So anyway, what happens is that this bass drum mic, it's called a boundary mic, just goes right inside, and as you can see, I lay it on my EQ pad pillow in there, or whatever kind of laundry I have inside my bass drum, because I do like muffling in my bass drum. I'm not an open bass drum type of guy. So this goes into this right here. And this goes out to the front of house board for them to control the bass drum mic. It doesn't affect the sound one bit. What I'm getting is I'm feeling the bass drum mic. Now, it also has a line in where I could get a whole monitor feed, and I could adjust I could have them set the adjustments to have only bass, maybe some drums, maybe some of my EAD, which does go through the board. I'll get to that in a second. It's just a totally different, game-changing experience when it comes to playing drums, to actually feel your bass drum. And to me, it helps me, because a lot of times when I have my InEars, and I use InEars because my hearing's gotten so bad, because I've played drums for the last almost 60 years on stage, loud rock and roll. So basically, InEars is the way to go for me. I always use the InEars situation. Like I said, they're wired, they're not wireless, which keeps the cost down. Okay, EAD 10. Now, I'm a big believer in this. You're gonna hear at the end of this, coming up, me playing the kit a bit. All the sounds you're hearing is coming from this one unit. This has two microphones on top. It also has triggers. You'll see it says A and B on the top. I'm using only the B section, which is only the microphones. I'm not using the triggers section for the bass drum. If I wanted to trigger the bass drum, meaning it's triggered off this controller unit over there, I would plug in A. All I have to do is plug in A and plug it in the unit down there, and then I have a triggered bass drum. I choose not to. It does pick up cymbals. It picks up toms like crazy. It picks up the snare drum. I do also have an external snare drum triggering device, which goes into that piece over there. But again, it's just something I don't think you really need. I don't particularly need it, but guys who really get into EAD 10 really go to town on the different variables that you have with the EAD 10. My cowbell, it's an LP. I've had it for years, as you can tell. My two go-to devices over here are my set list. I use OnSong set list, and that's actually my set list for tomorrow night's gig with the Big Jangle with the Tom Petty Band. If you guys know Tom Petty, you'll see I Won't Back Down, Handle with Care, Wildflowers, You Wreck Me, Stop Dragging My Heart, Free Fallin', Mary Jane's Last Dance, yada yada yada. If I want to get to a particular song that's got my background vocals, see the ooh-ooh-oohs? Now I know these by heart, but when I first had them, I needed a little help. Anyway, up there, up the top where it says Stop Dragging My Heart 107, that's incorrect. At the very top where it says Stop Dragging My Heart, it's 104. 104 is the record tempo. Okay. And that's that. I depend on this for my set list. It's awesome. It really is. Every night, every set list that I have to put in, I do have to edit it and change the songs around. And it takes a little learning, but it's definitely worth it. Now, over here, Live BPM. I'm a big believer in this app. It's called Live BPM. It's purchased, I think I'm going to say it used to be $3.99 a year, or $3.99 one-time purchase, which is incredible. What's it do? Live BPM. If you don't know, this is going to be a little loud, but watch. So is the dog over there. Wait for it. There you go. 104. I'm going to go a little faster. See it? Recalibrating. 120, 122. So if you slow down. So basically what it does, it tracks your tempo. I have a separate video on this. Click on the link if you want to check the video out. It gets quite detailed. But, you know, I'll use it. I use an old repurposed iPhone where this app resides. You don't want to obsess by this. Drums, tempo, except in specific situations where you're totally playing to a click, you don't want it to move. I do play to a click every now and then with this, but most of the time I don't, and songs speed up sometimes in the choruses or during a solo, usually in a solo. I try to keep it back, try to hold it so I can basically, it's like a speedometer. It's just tracking you as you go, and it's pretty much live. I don't know why it's showing a tempo with me talking, but that's that. These are two essentials, always go to. Like I said, the only thing that changes in this setup with me having all my different snare drums and different drums are an occasional cymbal swap out. I'll use the 20-inch instead of the 21, and I'll change the size of the crash cymbals depending on the gig that I'm using. The only thing that changes are the drums. I think that's about it. Oh, no. One more thing. This is essential. I was playing a gig with the Tom Petty Band, and the last bass drum, the last hit of the song, the last song of the night, my bass drum pedal went through the batter head, broke it. I said, okay, I'm done for the night. No, we had an encore to play. So basically I had to play American Girl with no bass drum. Impossible. I made it work somehow. But this I always keep in my cymbal bag. It's called an Aquarian kick patch. So basically you have this in your cymbal bag on stage behind you, and I think they go for like 12, 15 bucks, something like that. There's adhesive on the back of this. You unpeel it, you plop it on your bass drum, and you're good to go. You don't have to change a bass drum head to finish the gig. This is insurance, and it's 15 bucks at the most. Keep it in your stick bag. There you go. That was free. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Coming up, I'll be demoing the EAD10 unit along with my drum set. Thank you and stay tuned.